Gandalf.
I am here to talk about The Hobbit.
I'm sorry the discussion for the top podcast book club is happening on their Discord. If you want to have your opinion of The Hobbit, you'll have to go there.
Well, I'm here now, so could we just talk about it?
I'm sure you thought that was terribly clever, but no. We are about to start the pod. You can find the link to the Discord in the description.
Come on, Tharkun. Just let me in.
You shall not pass!
We look forward to talking with you in the Discord.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Rob, and joining with me are my friends Mike.
Hi.
And Lou.
Hey.
Hey. So just a couple announcements. Be sure to join our Discord. It looks like we're going to be reading The Hobbit for next month for our first ever book club book. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on The Hobbit. And just as we read along it, we're going to talk kind of just, at random in the Discord. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. And then we'll talk about what the things you guys say whenever we do the book club pod. Other than that, go check out our Redbubble. Links also in the description. We got some new merch, some kicking stickers. I got it. My mom listens to this, so I got to watch my language. But some kicking stickers.
They're really good. I get paid on Wednesday, and I have a bundle of them in my cart. I'm picking them up the second I get paid. But I'm not saying that to advertise them because we see very little return on them. Rob just absolutely did a great job, and I want them.
And there's a bulk discount. I think it's 4 and 10.
4 and 10, yeah, and you can mix and match. So, I just found this out. Again, I really sound like I'm trying to sell these. Again, we make pennies on the dollar.
We have not seen anything from the two people
that
have
this
been
is
gracious
just
enough
for
to buy
fun.
something.
But, so you get a discount if you buy any 4. I don't know if they have to be the same type. I went all holographic because I'm a baller like that. And then when you hit up to any 10, you'll get another discount. So
there we go. I got a blind rank for you guys. I think we have 2 this week. But I want you guys to blind rank these fast foods without knowing what comes next.
Ooh, baby.
First up, we'll go one that's kind of light on the gut. We're going to go Subway.
5.
4.
Ooh, Subway. Next up, one that's definitely not light on the gut. Popeyes.
So is this peak?
Peak.
Is this peak?
This is
This
the
peak?
best of the best of. I
Best
guess you can rate. You can do an average Popeyes or what the potential of a Popeye is.
I'm gonna say every order of these comes in perfect, and I'm gonna put Popeyes at 2. No, excuse me, that was the wrong direction from 3. 4.
What?
You got me good on that one. I'm gonna go 2 because I do think they have the best chicken sandwich.
They
It's not. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
When you're not waiting in line for 40 minutes, but there's 2 cars in front of you.
Why is there a black and mild in my chicken sandwich?
It's extra flavor.
Extra flavor.
Next up, we
wine
got
dipped?
Timmy's, Tim Hortons.
I regret everything. Oh gosh, 3.
I have
4
4.
is the right move.
I have 4 and 2.
No, you don't. You put Subway at 4, but you have 5, which is right
Oh.
where that belongs.
It does.
Timmy's
so
breakfast, their sandwiches are pretty good.
Their sandwiches are disgusting, sir.
the breakfast sandwiches or just sandwiches? Period.
They're breakfast sandwiches. I've never had a
Okay.
non-breakfast sandwich.
So if you get a non-breakfast sandwich at Tim Hortons, you are either Canadian or you're crazy.
Amen.
I've only had it once or twice, but I enjoyed the breakfast sandwich.
Breakfast sandwiches are good. I just love breakfast sandwiches. So I'm gonna go 3.
Next up we got Qdoba.
Ooh.
I hate Qdoba.
Oh, I'm sorry, Becky, you had to hear that.
Do enjoy Qdoba.
Qdoba over Chipotle?
Yeah,
You're out of your mind.
Well, first of all, it's the only one we have in this city, but she is a hard Qdoba fan over Chipotle.
I'm going 2 because I can't justify putting it at 1. And while I do prefer the flavors of some barbacoa from Chipotle, you just can't beat the value. The value of the free guac and queso is so much that I think it makes up for the smaller disparity in flavor.
Where
Their
you
queso
going?
sucks.
Oh.
Yeah, their queso is trash. I will say, if White Castle's is the last one and that's my number one, I'm gonna lose my mind.
So is this your
So
5?
this is gonna no. Has to be my one. No, you.
You got one more left, so you should have 2 options.
You got one. I do have. So I have 1 and 5 left. Correct.
I believe so.
Oh my gosh! I swear, if you shiv me, just like I'm gonna be so upset. All right, I'm gonna believe in the heart of the cards. That's gonna be my 5.
It wasn't White Castle, but now it is.
Now it is.
Click. Both of your guys' number 1 fast food place is McDonald's.
Okay.
Fine with that.
How would you rearrange your list? Popeye's number
I'm gonna
1.
be honest. Yeah, but not because I like it that much. More because it's the best of a bad bunch.
Holy
Yeah, Popeyes has to be number 1. McDonald's is 3. 2 or 3.
You putting Qdoba at 2, Lou?
I'll put Qdoba at 2 just because it's actual food and it's not gonna just kill me. I can get a vegetable.
That's true.
And Subway, you can get vegetables.
Yeah, but you'll get a felon making your sandwich. There's nothing wrong with felons. I support felons getting jobs.
I think most of these places.
Felons.
It's
I
possible.
got
It's possible.
some monster food poisoning in close proximity, temporally, to the consumption of Subway. And I'm not saying it was Subway because it's been long enough that I can't like remember the exact details. But at the time, I remember being like, it could have been, but it could also have been this other thing.
Was it Barkley? She got food poisoning from Subway.
I think it was Mackenzie and I had food poisoning. Barkley could also have been involved. I don't recall. But I know Mackenzie was like, I'm never eating it again because she believes it to have been the Subway. I looked at it and I was like, look, there were 2 things it could very well have been either. And so I'm not going to just write off Subway, but I also haven't had it since. So maybe on some level I have written it off. But I enjoy Subway, or I did from time to time.
Jersey Mike's has me converted.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. Jersey
yeah,
Mike's is the best sandwich ever.
Yeah.
Ooh, a Penn State. I really like Penn Station.
I'll take Jersey Mike's over Penn Station, but Penn Station is very good.
What were you gonna say, Luke?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just trying to figure out if I like Penn Station more than Jersey Mike's. I haven't had Penn Station in years.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey Mike's, bro. Penn Station has fries, right?
Yeah. You get a lot of fries.
There's something about a sub and a fry really does it for me.
It's dude that
Salt and
Chipotle,
savory.
the Chipotle cheesesteak from Jersey Mike's.
It's
It's unrivaled.
Yeah.
I've never had a better cheesesteak.
Well,
I've never been to Philadelphia, so
I was gonna say, a Philly cheesesteak.
I'm not insulting the capital, but until I've been to Philadelphia, I can't really speak to it. And they're gonna have to wow me, man. That's a good sandwich from Jersey Mike's.
And they have killer commercials.
They do. They're solid. They don't even need to be that good, and they are.
This episode brought to you by Danny DeVito's Jersey Mike's commercials. Lou, what's the blind rank you got for us?
All right, we have top 5 fictional creatures.
Ooh.
All right. Number 1, horse. No, I'm just playing. Sorry.
3.
Horses aren't real. All right. Number 1, werewolf.
Are we talking like Twilight werewolf or like the historical?
Any werewolf, baby, any werewolf you want, homie.
Oh, okay.
You want it sparkling? You want it
Oh, well, if it's sparkling.
Well,
any way you want it.
I think it's a good baseline for me, so I'm gonna go 3.
Yeah. We're going to judge everything better or worse than the werewolf.
3 as well. Okay. Let's do Chimera.
Chimera.
Oh, is that the head of a lion and the lower body of something else?
Yeah.
That's the lion
That's a badass mythical creature, man.
breathes fire.
Yeah, it's a good one. I might have to go 2.
Let me look at a picture right quick. I gotta get this. Ooh, I don't like that picture. Looks like the donkey's humping the lion.
Which are you on Reddit?
No, I just googled it and I put it in the chat. I'm gonna
I did not. Just to be clear, I did not try to spell Chimera and just write camera with a weird accent in my head. That definitely didn't happen.
There's a
Surprisingly,
lion, go, and a serpent.
yeah, I was gonna say surprisingly, for some reason I know how to spell it. But yeah, look at if you guys see the photo I just sent, that might knock it down just for that one person's rendition. I'm gonna put it at 4. I'm gonna put it at 4.
Or
Doesn't it look like that? Doesn't it look like that?
You got to put that on the YouTube, man. That is so good. It's my favorite day.
Next one.
let's do
The D&E
Let's
version
do
has a
it.
dragon.
let's do Medusa.
Oh, hold up. Hold up. 1. I will answer no further questions.
Well, that just turned me off to Medusa a little bit.
I
but,
don't know. I don't know. It's for the pod.
Or the pot. Any creepy thing it's off the pod.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I believe that. 4.
Is this the last one?
I'll put it at 2.
No, you got 2 more.
2 more.
So I got 1
All
and
right, let's
5.
do.
Yeah, same.
Let's do a griffin.
Ooh, I love griffins, but I'm afraid that there might be like one of my favorite left.
Yeah. Oh, I got to go 5. No shade to the Griffin. I just got to hedge the bet.
All right, and you know it. You love it. People write sexy books about this thing. We got the dragon.
Okay, the dragon's gonna be my number 1, since you
1.
didn't wait for me to say that my griffin's gonna be number 5.
I like that move though that you let him say it.
I wasn't gonna stop him. I wasn't
you were
gonna
like,
stop
well, if I can get that info.
I think I would move Griffin to 2 and then shift everything else down.
I'm happy with my list. In fact, if anything, it occurred to me almost immediately after I put Werewolf at 3 that I liked the Wolfman so much he deserves to be at 2. But I don't really know how the rest of the list would reshake.
Mm-hmm. So this week we're talking about Pitfalls of Relationship. Lou, I know this was kind of your idea, so do you want to explain to everyone what you mean by this and kind of the broad topic at large?
Yeah, so I was talking to my wife about this, and it sounds like like how you fail in a relationship, but I think it's more of just like bad habits in a relationship that will come just naturally to, I think, almost everybody. Just
Things to avoid in a relationship and how to do better.
yeah, and so that's the general topic. I think it's funny that a lot of our listeners are men, and some of them are single men that we know. I think it's important. I mean, I think we are we're not perfect, I think, in relationships by any means, but we've been around the block, and I don't know, it'd just be cool to if I might have heard this when I was 21. So
Yeah, I feel you. This will be relationship therapy with the Top Podcast.
okay,
Quack.
you can bill me at here's my Venmo.
Toppodcast@gmail.com.
If you buy enough stickers, we might start to see pennies. So
And I can quit my job.
a lot of stickers.
Millions of stickers, and Lou can
I
quit
don't know
his
how
job.
much I get paid.
I don't
But
know
we know how much you
get
make off of
paid, but
stickers.
yeah, it's more that I know what the stickers pay.
I think we would get,
already
if
don't.
someone bought one, it'd be like 3 cents. So,
Rob just like hoarding all the money. It's like, yeah, I have $10 worth of stickers I can share with you guys. Money Man Rob.
Money Man
All
Roberts
right,
won stickers.
the first thing that I want to talk about is communication.
Mm-hmm.
I want to come up hot. What are you guys thinking? What comes to mind when I talk about communication in relationships?
The thing that comes to mind for me is, and I've been saying this for a very long time, and despite my current relationship status, I do maintain that this is really good advice. You think you speak the same language as the person you're dating or married to. You don't. You both speak English, but you mean incredibly different things when you say certain words or phrases. And it is incredibly important that you understand that you're going to have to rip out certain pages from your dictionary, and replace them with the other person's pages. And at the same time, the other person is going to have to make an equal sacrifice to understand, hey, these things that I say, this is what I intend to express from these ideas, and that you're going to get in fights because you're going to say something that just lands completely the wrong way to the other person, because the societal makeup of their family in some ways is going to be so drastically different and alien to that of yours that you will inadvertently just stick your foot somewhere it shouldn't go, and it very well could be your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Very well communicated there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I was one of my cousins was getting married. Cousin's mother was like, Michael, as the senior cousin, which was a term that had hitherto never been used to describe me, what advice do you have for the happy couple? I was like, I mean, there's only like 6 people in the room, so it's not like that on the spot, but and so that was what I came up with, which was a theory I'd been working on for a long time, and I've run it by some people I would consider wise, and it's gotten better and easier to articulate because of those conversations. But yeah, cannot tell you how many arguments I've been in where like the conclusion was not, okay, one of us has to change our mind. It was just we had to give enough ground to understand that we don't even disagree. We're just saying one thing and hearing another in unison.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that, like, also along with that I didn't think of, until I was married and all that, is like volume also is different, just from not even like as I'm angry, but my in my house, yelling was, that's kind of just how you did arguments, but for her house, yelling meant you were absolutely pissed. Like, it was like, that was the argument was ending or whatever type of thing. So it was just like, I remember the first time we kind of got in an argument, and she's like, "Why?" Later, she's like, "Why were you like yelling at me?" And I'm like, "I didn't mean to be yelling at you, was I? Like, I didn't even realize."
Right.
Just because something about, like, in my family, you raise your voice and everything, it just happens. So something to be mindful.
Yeah, and that's I heard a study once that the most what was it? It was the most successful relationships. In this study, they asked like a bunch of questions to try and find a common thread. They did this big study of relationships, and the most common thread they found was people basically choosing to assume the best of their partner. That was like a very common thread in relationships that were self-described to be happy and that were objectively long-lasting. And that is such an important thing. The most offended I've ever been by something another human being has said to me is, "Stop trying to intimidate me." And there was clearly past baggage coming into play there, where other people had communicated in this way, where they were trying to be big and intimidating and physically a presence and trying to dominate the conversation in that way. And I was floored because, believe me, it does not matter who you are. I am convinced I can win an argument objectively, even if you don't think I've won, against anybody. And I don't need to try and physically scare you into letting me win the argument. And then on another level, it also stirred this thing in me where I was like, oh, believe me, if I wanted you to be intimidated, you would be intimidated. Like, yeah, like, so, and in both cases, the best was not being assumed of me, and I did not respond well to that sentence, right? Instead of being like, oh, okay, there's, somebody else has probably communicated in a way that is informing this interpretation, I got more angry, and I was, because I don't like being told what I'm thinking, especially when it's not what I'm thinking or what my intentions are, when that's not what they are. So to just have a mind when communicating that this thing that you're hearing might not be what they're trying to express.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm very happy that when we talked about communicating, it went straight to arguments, because I think that's where my mind goes when communicating, and it's where I fail the most at in communicating is when I feel feelings and when I get upset. I think
Communication's easy when everybody agrees, you know?
yeah, easily, super for sure. And I notice in myself that when things get hot, I bail, and so
Start
that
taking
is
off your
just
clothes,
something.
and it's really awkward when it's us.
Yeah, brother,
But-
I'm a take off your clothes and run away. I'm a bailer. And so that's something that in a relationship, or I just try to distract myself. And so there's been times where I'm getting arguments with my wife, and I immediately like go to my PlayStation. I start playing video games because like my brain just cannot handle uh, conflict. And so it's something that I've just always felt like I've had to do is just really focus on just something that's worked for me is understanding that like I'm not a bad person because I think differently than my wife.
Mhm.
And like my feelings matter, and I know that my wife knows that, like, cares about my feelings as well. And so the problem isn't us. A problem is like separate from us.
The problem's the problem. We're not
The problem is the problem, and like
the-
we can communicate and fix the problem without me feeling like this is bigger than it needs to be.
That's my favorite piece of relationship advice I think I've ever heard. And you were the first person I ever heard say, learning that the problem is the problem, we're not the problem. And, you know, the argument isn't, the goal isn't to win. The goal is to find a solution together when in an argument. I was just like, dang, that's so good.
What are oh, sorry, go Robin.
No, you're good. Go for it.
Oh, I was gonna switch the topic, but if we have more on that.
I was just going to say it's easier said than done.
Bro, for sure.
And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. That's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
with the assuming. Like, be like, is this
Actually,
what you meant by this
yeah.
or whatever?
Let me oh gosh. So I've found let me get your guys' opinion on this. Have you ever found yourself in an argument and you're like something that I find very frustrating in arguments is when somebody understands what it is they're feeling and what they're trying to get across, but they don't seem to have a respect for the concrete nature of language. By which I mean, we have this thing called a dictionary that objectively informs us what the sounds that come out of our mouth are meaning. And like, we've come to an agreement as a society that certain words mean certain things. And so like, there have been points where I've been like, I've been in an argument. This is not like me trying to take a dump on some specific ex. Like, this is a reoccurring thing I've found, is that I'll be like, we'll go back and forth and be like, you said this. No, I didn't. We're going back and back and back. And I'm like, okay, so what I'm finally able to hear is that you mean A, B, and C. And they're like, yes. I'm like, but you said L, M, and P. And L, M, and N. And they're like, yeah, that's the same thing. And I'm like, no, it's not. And so like, what you mean and what you said are objectively two different things. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, I think, and that matters to you.
That matters to me so deeply.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you it matters to Rob, and it matters less to someone like Becca, because I think that in general you get pairings of opposites attract is an expression for a reason. And so I usually find myself on the more concrete, you said this, that means this side of arguments, and I find myself in relationship with people who are merely trying to express a feeling and less concerned with the importance of proper, precise articulation.
Well, I think that's where it comes in, like the whole clarifying questions. Because the problem,
Mhm.
I'm going to disagree with you that the dictionary is objective, because a bunch of dictionaries have different definitions of varying, things.
Sure, objective
And,
might have been strong,
yeah,
but
it's pretty concrete. I'll give you that one. But
yeah,
there's also so many local, even just within the family sector, like this means this to us, our family, and yeah, they could have been using it the whole time, but to them, it meant that. And in this sense, their truth, almost like my truth, would make sense, because to me, this is what my family has always said this word was. And, it might not be what it actually means, but like this, I've always expressed it, and maybe I said that. So I'm actually not as big of a stickler on that. If I'm like, hey, this is what I think you're saying, but what do you mean by this? I think that's a good time for that.
Yeah.
And then, especially once going forward, you can adjust. But
yeah, I've found multiple people who are like I can be like, can you at least understand why you were saying X meaning Y, but I was hearing X meaning X, and they're like, no. And I'm like,
that would
how?
Mhm.
Yeah, like I'm willing to go forward hearing X come out of your mouth and assuming Y is what you meant, but you gotta meet me with at least understanding why I didn't hear it as such the first 17 times.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a good version of give and take. Like, yeah, going forward, now I know what you mean by this, but this is,
Yeah,
I can understand that point of view.
Yeah, if somebody's not understanding you, you need to be gracious about why, what you're saying doesn't land with them, and understand that there's a certain element of you both have to die a little bit and accept the other person as part of who you are in order to communicate well.
Yeah.
I'll wrap it with this, and then we can move on to Lou's point. I once dated a girl many, many, many years ago who said to me, and I quote, "You're so concerned with saying something exactly right. I would rather you say something wrong than get it right." And I was like, how have we gotten to this point in the argument? This makes actually zero sense.
This girl was struggling. Just thought about this shit for a while. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Where's the button?
Watch your profanity.
Thank you. You guys are quick with the draw.
Watch your mouth.
I'm so sorry. I just picture this girl just rubbing her temples.
I don't know. We were on the phone, but it's probably accurate.
Fun.
What you got next for us, Lou?
Oh,
Next pitfall.
I forgot to say this in the beginning. I think relationships are like a box of chocolates. I think everything is different. So if there's any
box of chocolates.
There we go. Yeah, you got it perfectly. Good job. A+ for you. And if there's anything that you disagree with, I think the goal is that everybody should be a master in their own relationship. Nobody should be a master of my relationship. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then a handful of things, some quick fire things about communication that I think I want to do is passive aggressive communication. For at least
Doesn't
in my
work.
relationship is a no-go.
Yeah, it's a red flag across the board.
Yeah, no joking. I mean, if there's room for jokes, for sure. And I notice that when there's death involved, I joke a lot, and I have no idea why I do this.
Trauma response.
Yeah,
100%. It's a defense mechanism. I do it too.
Yeah, and so that's just something that you got to get rid of. I think I statements have helped a lot in my relationship. Yeah, I statements have helped a lot in my relationship. If I just go straight up with I feel like this, it doesn't. We're not pointing fingers, and then it can. I have a playground that I can play with in my arguments. Is that, I don't know. That's how I see it. Is that I'm not jumping in somebody else's business and I'm pointing fingers at every little thing.
Yeah, I mean, a nice statement allows you to really say anything you want, and keep the ball in your court.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's hey, you're constructing this hypothetical essentially of this is how I'm perceiving things, and you're leaving the understanding that, like, or you should, if everybody's on the same page when you're saying I feel, that should translate.
Yeah, I agree. It should.
And be careful of
little-
my interpretation.
Oh.
Of,
You're kind of cutting
Yeah,
out
Robert?
there, Mike. I was gonna say also be careful of using the royal we, especially in like if you're in like an argument or something. That's when the I statements really you should be using them.
And then cute little thing that I've done in my relationships, I left notes, or if something gets really testy, we've communicated through text. And I don't think that should be your first option, but if it gets real bad, taking some time to step away and just texting like "I love you" can really just throw kind of a white flag out there.
yeah. No, it's huge. There's this idea of never going to bed angry, and I don't remember the argument, but it was really funny because my dad preached a message on relationships where he was like, "No, like at any point, my wife and I can hit pause, and we will be adults, and we will be polite to each other, and we will function in a cohabitative state for 24 hours." And then we will come back after having some time to cool off, and we will discuss it. And people, whenever I say that, are always like, "The pastor's going to bed angry." But like, I think he just goes into the context of that, and it's not like, I don't know. The argument was essentially that that's not a super strict prescription specifically for marriage.
Because if you're like you've had a long day at work and everything, you're just tired. You're probably gonna say stuff that you wouldn't,
Oh my
you
gosh,
don't mean
yeah.
to say it, but you're just tired and all that, so it's gonna fuel kind of like the anger
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
negative emotions going on. In that case, I think it's good to be like, hey, I'm super tired. Can we just deal with this tomorrow or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, one of the worst arguments I ever got in with an ex, it was multiple living places ago. But we really got at it. It was one of the only times that stuff ever got like nasty and like bordered into like name calling. Like we were just, I don't know what was going on, but we were not having it. And she started to like walk out of the apartment like crying, and I was like, stop, like really forceful. She stopped at the door, and I walked up and I gave her a hug, and I was like, hey, look, I love you, you need to go, we need to be apart, but like I still love you. We're gonna talk about this later. And she like texted me when she got to the car. She was like, hey, that meant a lot. Let's not talk for like a day, but I appreciate that, And so it's just like, if you can, even in the heat of things, if you can catch just a breath to be like, all right, we need a minute to cool down, but I can interject just, hey, you matter to me and you still have value even though we're in this tense situation, that goes such a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Amen, brother. All right, next topic.
Yep.
Yeah, bring it on.
Like quality time. How do you guys feel about that? Like, what has worked for you guys? What hasn't worked? I think growing up. Oh, not what I was talking about. We can talk about. I haven't thought about sex, but we can talk about it for sure. You really threw me off. When I was in middle school, I said to myself, I could never marry a woman that doesn't play video games and watch football. That's just something that I can't live without. And here I am. My wife still doesn't know where most of the buttons are, but she'll try. She'll give it a good old college try, and I appreciate that a lot. But what do you guys think
about video games and football? Because I actually have been having some pretty serious thoughts about both of those lately. Or quality.
That's another deep dive.
Well, no, as it pertains to relationships, because I basically have had that opinion too. And something I've said, I've joked about this with the guys, not you guys specifically, but with other guys, where I've been like, look, I love my wife, my girlfriend, but there isn't a relationship in my life that I've had where there's been love and more joy brought across a span of time than my relationship with football. Like, football is my longest lasting. I was never a Lions fan. Well,
I mean, as a kid.
By the
but-
time I was cohesive enough to make my own decisions, I got out. But by the time, like, I came back to football before I, was back in good relationship with my parents. We were kind of on rocky terms. I wasn't super close with my sister yet. I wasn't like good friends with either of you guys. Me and Rob got along pretty well, but like we were nowhere near as close as we are now. Like just in general, none of my relationships have been in places that I want them to be longer than I've gotten joy and love from football. But it literally in the last 2 days, I've started being like, I think this might be a problem. Like, I think I might care about this to an unhealthy extent.
Mm.
And I think it is a small factor in my relationships. But I do think it may have been a factor. And it's something I'm starting to reconsider how big of a priority it's going to be. And so I think when it comes down to quality time, I'm worried that I'm going to end up having the same basic answer for every question now, because again, my thought is dying to yourself coming to mind. And like, yeah, there should be things that you like that maybe she's willing to give us try. But also you should be willing to give up some of your things to take on some of her interests. And ideally you find someone who just likes all the same things as you, and it's perfect, but that's not likely to happen.
Yeah, it's probably not
And
going to happen.
impossible that it's going to happen 100%. So like, I don't know. I'm also like, TV has always been a big one for the last several, like, oh, let's watch a movie, let's watch a show. I'm starting to question the quality of that particular quality time activity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on, there's the 5 love languages. So for me, quality time is like my number one way I show and, receive, what is the term?
Give and receive,
Yeah,
show and receive.
show and receive love. So, and it's super high for Becca's too. So it's really easy. And I think part of it, there is, again, with communication, there's some discussion. Like, what do you see as quality time? Like for us, some of the quality time, like we're just happy being in the same room. Like, if I'm on my computer, she's on the Steam Deck, whatever. But that's definitely not enough to carry a relationship. Like you still need more intentional time. But like that small quality time does it a lot for us. So it's a huge part in our relationship. But I think it can vary very differently between each couple, or even just relationships, not even in a romantic relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not to say that I think when you're married, you're going to spend a lot of time around each other. And so it's okay. I think it's even a good thing when you can reach a point where you can just kind of be in silence or doing your own thing in proximity. I think there's a certain level of just like comfort and intimacy that is required for that. Like, we'll move away from romantic relationships for a minute just for the sake of illustration. Could you imagine you got a new dude friend, you've only like hung out a couple times, probably in group settings, you're doing your first time like hanging out, oh, it's just the two of us, and you're just gonna try and both sit there and not say anything?
Man, that sounds like a great friendship.
I mean, I get it.
I
Yes.
think Robert would, I was like, Robert would love that.
Yeah.
There's been times where I didn't.
We
say
still
anything
don't
to
work
Robert.
sometimes. Sometimes we still don't talk.
Don't get me wrong. I loved when Becca and Rob started dating, and there'd be Sundays where the two of them would come over, and we would all individually sit in the same room and do our own thing. It was wonderful. But like, it takes some time to get there, and like, again, Rob's a bit of an outlier here. For most people, it would be like, this is a little weird and uncomfortable, and we feel the need to fill this time with like conversation, or at least shared activity. For example, me and Dan watched Alien the other day. It was, I think, the first time we had ever, just the two of us, done an activity one-on-one. Like we'd been in the car going somewhere together, or Dan showed up first to my place one time when we were all meeting up for a movie. But like it was like, okay, this is gonna be a 2-hour block, just me and First Mate Dan. I like First Mate Dan a lot. We talked over that movie a little more than I think is super normal for watching a movie. You know, it's because when a friendship or like any type of relationship is new, you kind of have to fill that space. And so I think there really is something beautiful about getting to the point where you can be quiet around each other. But also I think it is critical that even if quality time isn't your love language, you're making intentional time to be in communication and to be doing something fun. Like I think a date night is like a super like easily overlooked and like just kind of like slept on thing that every relationship should probably have.
Even if you're broke. Becca and I have a
There's a
weekly
lot
date
of cheap
night.
stuff out there.
Well, even just like for us, date night is more like it is a quality time night because it's like, yeah, we don't really have the money to go out and do a lot of stuff, go out to eat like maybe once a month, but like we just have that sort of time. Like, all right, we're gonna focus on us. Like, even if it is just us, you know, drawing or playing video games together, like we need time just to have intentional time instead of which is I'd say better quality time is when you're intentional because that's engagement from both ways.
Yeah, and like time where you're setting aside the distractions, right? Like some of my favorite times with Mackenzie, even once stuff started getting pretty rocky, was we'd drop Joe off at my parents for something, and even if we were just like running some errands, it was like when it's just the two of us and we're just chatting and like doing stuff, just the two of us, and there aren't all the added responsibilities of life. It was like, oh, that's right. Like I used to be good friends with this person, and I'm able to like have that glimpse for a short period of time before, you know, we have to go back into like, oh man, there's a lot that needs to get done, and you know the stresses of life are now taxing at us. So if you can just have time, regardless of what you're doing, where we are doing an activity together and we are kind of putting blinders on to the stress of life and just having time where, sure, there are things that need to get done, but right now for the next hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, me and this person, this is the important thing. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, you guys really hit it on the head. I think I like both of your guys' topics when you guys talked about like being quiet alone, but also being intentional. I think a pitfall in my relationship is I tend to, for me, and I'll say this, I feel like a relationship is like paddling up a stream, and that if I'm not actively pursuing my wife, even if I'm not paddling, if I'm just standing still, I feel like I'm losing. I feel like I'm going downriver just to tap.
Atrophy is a very real thing.
And that's just me, and I can only speak for myself. If I'm not actively pursuing my wife, it's just gonna get bad, and it's not gonna look like a train wreck after a day. You know, if I don't do anything intentional with my wife in a day, it's gonna be perfectly fine. But if it comes a week, and then a month passes by, and then a year, where you're just like, especially during COVID, you know, you have all these things, life gets in the way. If you're not actively pursuing your partner, it gets dicey quicker than you think it does.
And I don't think that's just your relationship thing. There's, I believe it's one of Newton's laws, is that like anything left in a state where it is not being actively repaired will inevitably fall into a state of disrepair. That is not how it is phrased, but it is the gist. And so, and it is something that, the concept is called entropy. And relational entropy is a very real thing. You know, anything that is not being worked towards will inevitably crumble over time.
and it should be. And I wrote this down, and Christian really liked it when I I said it to her. I treat your wife like you treat your hobbies. Treat your partner how you treat your hobbies. If you, I love to YouTube something and to go into a deep rabbit hole. Not as deep as Robert gets. Robert gets pretty deep.
What are you trying to say?
There was something about a room that you were learning about. I can't remember. There's been things you were like, yeah, I learned about that, and I spent 2 hours learning about that. And I was like,
Your
this-
wife wants me to be really into my next partner for like 5 months, spend a ton of money I'm never going to get back, and then be totally disinterested.
No, like your core hobbies. All I'm saying is that, like, when I think about this, I'm saying a lot because I want to say this right. But I've had friends or I've had like acquaintances, and I've seen like it's really common in like stupid TV shows where like you want to hang out with the boys and you don't, in the ball and chain situation. Like if you don't like to hang out with your wife, what's the point of marrying her? Like you can only have sex so much. She should be a good hang. Marry a good hang. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro,
You know I'm a degenerate.
100%.
you can only fondle the boobies so much. Or
Okay, well, hold on. Those are two things. Those are two separate statements, and I
You
only
know I'm a
agree with one of them.
Just,
Um,
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm alienating the girls. You can only, I don't know. It gets real weird when I share it. I don't know. Do you guys?
No, I mean, here's the thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like it's a very real principle that just like entropy, gravity will take effect, and none of us will be young and hot forever. Well,
Wait, we started being hot?
but
Robert, I think you're hitting your stride right now, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so like at the end of the day, I was just having this conversation with my mom. It's like at some point you will be old and geriatric, and even if you really keep up with yourself, your body is just going to fall apart.
Not my
You
dad.
should want-
Sorry, it's topical. 'cause
The
we're talking about
argument
dead-
is there
dead
to be
jokes.
made that his body has also fallen apart. But
We can dig him up. And is he cremated or? did he
No,
get buried?
he got buried.
We should test that.
do not finish that sentence. This is me talking.
Sorry, mom.
Sorry, Mom.
But yeah,
You know
like,
I'm a
you should-
degenerate.
I never got to use that way. Ugh.
Hey, but it works though.
does.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, beauty fades. You want to have a friendship. That makes sense. Something I've been thinking about, this idea of independence in a relationship. People are like, I don't want to be like locked down or tied down by my relationship. I'm like, really? Because like, I kind of do, in the sense that like I want to be in a relationship where it's like I am happily turning down plans to spend time with my wife, and not a relationship where I'm like constantly looking for plans so I can go out with the boys. Like I would much rather want to be in something where I'm happily like, quote, stuck at home. Like you should want to be spending time around your person. It's just like, what are we doing here if that's not the case?
Mhm.
How many more topics do you guys want to?
We're at 48 minutes. So we got probably a couple more, or when we go in. Before we go anything, it's already moved on pretty far. But I know Mike was saying his first bro date was a movie. But to anyone actually out there playing the field, don't take your first date to the movies. Go with something you're gonna actually interact with.
Best first date I've ever been on. The movie was a component. Right? So if you have a movie theater next to a soft serve ice cream place, here's the play.
Ooh,
Also,
MJR?
if you're anywhere near
No.
MGM or MJR in Westland,
It's more fun
hate
there.
that.
specifically
hate
what
that
I'm
place.
referring to.
It's more fun there.
No, it
it
isn't.
is. We saw the Amazing Spider-Man, and then we got soft serve ice cream. Guys, I don't care what culture tells you, pay. It's soft serve. It's not that expensive. You can afford it. And if you can't, you probably shouldn't be dating. And then we sat on the grass in front of the movie theater and just talked for hours. Right? It was an incredible date.
I guess as long as
Don't
you're spending
just go
more
to the
time,
movie.
yeah, as long as you're spending
Yeah.
more time outside of the movie or equal to more time outside what you spent on the movie outside on that first date or outside of that, then
Yeah.
you
Movie
a
isn't
pass.
inherently a problem, but it needs to be only a piece of the larger date, and you need to be able to maintain. At that point, you need to be able to maintain for like 5 hours. This was, happened to be someone I went to high school with, so I knew it would be easy to maintain. It was like, oh, we're already friends. This is gonna be a cakewalk. One and only date with that girl went very well, and then I went to college.
Separate time.
Me and Robert had a really good relationship moment there as well in the parking lot of MGR. So I think it's funny.
It's hollowed ground, I swear.
Robert, you're really quiet. I don't know what's going on. Are you denying?
There's better movie theaters.
All right,
I'm
man.
not saying there aren't. I'm
Alright.
just saying there's something magical about that one, and it happens to be next to a soft serve and across from B-dubs if you're
And across from Taco Bell.
inclined.
It is across.
Yeah.
And a Sonic right down the road.
Honestly, for being such, it's like the golden spot in Westland.
Is that downtown
And-
Westland? Is the Westland Mall area their equivalent
Yeah.
of a downtown?
It also happened to have been close enough to my house that I was able to get a ride to the movie theater, and I stashed a backpack in the bushes with some running shoes, and because I knew I didn't have a ride home from the date, and then after the date was over, I just went to the bushes, got my running shoes, and threw my date shoes in the backpack, and just did a little run home.
There you go. What's
That
it?
would been so wild to see if like somehow your date was still on.
What's he
Oh, it was
got in the
weird because her
bushes?
dad pulled up and offered me a ride home, and I had to be like,
You have to be like,
no, my shoes are in the bushes.
That's awesome.
He was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I didn't work out today because I knew I was going to do a run home from this. And then in hindsight, I was like, oh, dude, that guy was like, well, that kid's trouble. He's not willing to sit in a 30-second car ride with me.
What do you got next, Lou?
I'm gonna talk about expectations in relationships. I think it's a little bit of a different conversation, but I wonder if you guys have had to alter your expectations in a relationship before, or kind of reevaluate it in some type of way.
I probably should have several times.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
something
fair.
I plan on doing differently in future.
Like just in dating specifically, or
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like I kind of shared this before when I was in middle school, but like I had certain expectations of how a relationship should be. And in the course of my marriage, I've had to reevaluate my expectations, and actually look at the heart of why I put that expectation on my wife, or expectations that I've never even shared with her that I had with her that she didn't know about.
Yeah, I guess when you put it that way, Hot Kyle actually has this thing he's been working on, this concept. He just refers to it as we're storytellers, man. But I
such a
imagine
Hot
a lot
Kyle
of
thing.
it is. But I think he's bang on the money on this one. Creative types especially. So I'm deeply prone to this. You can see, like, there can just be some little spark. Something can happen, and it's like, okay, I'm attracted to this person, whatever. And then you just need one little thing to click, and you can't help it. Like, my brain will literally just be like, oh, there goes. It's the entire story of our relationship, and it's picture perfect, and I've told the entire thing. Right? And it's like, it is such an unfair thing because it happens subconsciously. And I've only recently started to become super cohesively aware of it. But you'll just, like, Kyle and I both noticed, we'll find ourselves like frustrated because the relationship isn't following the timing or the beats or like the storybook nature that our stupid brains just wrote the script for. And so that's a very, like, I know it's a very vague and nondescript way of describing it, but I think that at its core, that's what, like, the problem of expectations is that without realizing it, you have these plans that you don't realize you've planned, and then when somebody doesn't meet them or match the timeline or whatever, you have an emotion and it's not a happy one. And it's very hard to identify when you have expectations, and you think you have, like, you think you know what they are, but you discover new ones like all the time, and so you're like, it's really tricky. I think something I've been getting into lately is trying to identify the root cause of emotions, and okay, I'm angry about this, which is usually the emotion I have, and then to pause and be like, okay, what is causing me to be angry about this? Like, is there an imbalance somewhere else? And my response to the feeling off from that emotion, or from whatever is off, like, I'm like, oh, I don't like that, and I respond with anger. I think that same thing can happen in a relationship where it's like something can happen, you'll have a negative emotion, and like the smart thing to do is to stop and be like, why do I feel this way as a result of that? What's informing this feeling? But more often than not, the natural thing to do is to just be like, ugh, this person is failing me.
I think one thing that I definitely need to work on is like, I can't think of any set expectations that I've had. I mean, everyone has them, whether passively or intentionally. There are some, but I got to the dating game pretty late. Is like when I actually was like, had a besides going on like 1 or 2 dates, it's like the actual had a girlfriend and all that. And I came from a single parent home, so I felt like for the most part I was kind of just doing the best off of like what people, learning from what other people told me. But for the most part, I was kind of just doing it by on the fly and just kind of adapting as I've gone, because I haven't really had that example in my life of what a good relationship looks like and all that, or a bad one. So there, there's good and bad there. So I don't really have anything I can think of at the moment. I'm sure they'll come to me later, but right now I don't got anything I can really have to contribute to the expectations part of this.
Well, that's the thing, is relationships are really expectations are, I think, super hard to identify. Like that. So one, it took me, I didn't realize this for the longest time. I had this like, people say marriage isn't going to fix your problems, right? And everybody, I don't know about everybody, most people have heard that expression, and most people agree with it. And yet I expected marriage to fix my problem. I expected to get married and that Mackenzie was going to fill these holes in my life that I wasn't even super able to identify. I was just aware of them, but on a subconscious level. And I expected her to like put Band-Aids over these parts of me that were incomplete, that I wasn't even able to point a finger to. It takes it almost takes the lack, like it takes that expectation not being met for you to even be able to fully realize, like, oh, I expected this. Am I crazy? Does that make sense?
No, actually,
no, I'm not crazy, or no, it doesn't make sense.
no, you're not crazy. It makes perfect sense. I'm gonna say, listeners, if you've gotten this far and you're still listening, thank you.
You're the true toppers
Go back,
out there.
the two toppers. Go back and listen to that again, because that is a massive thing to learn. And you can learn by making mistakes, or you can learn by watching somebody else make mistakes. And
Oh, you can learn a lot from me, man.
I'm not saying, I wasn't saying that, like, Mike, you made a ton of mistakes and
I
people
didn't think you were,
study
but it is true. So,
and you would save yourself so much pain if you just went back and really cemented that into your into your mind, because that's liquid gold. Put that in your heart, and you'll save yourself some time and some pain.
I thought for sure you were about to say and smoke it for a minute there.
That in your heart and smoke it?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know why. I just like, I wrote the story of you saying that and you failed to meet my expectation.
How dare you?
And Robert, again, thank you. For I was gonna also say thank you because your expectations are I okay, as a friend, like I've loved being a part of your life and watching you kind of learn how to do things in relationships, and I'm so glad that you found a great partner to do that with. And I feel like she understands where you are as a person, and you and patient with you. If she is beating you, please let us know.
I don't know how I can blink into the. No.
Rob's over there. His eyelids are flickering at him.
Sorry, hold on. Becca's looking at me. No, everything's.
And so yes, that's I'm so happy that you shared that because it's true, and I think divorce is really big, and dads die sometimes, and people have to work, and so I feel like I'm hoping that if they made it this far, that also resonated with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Just learn from other people's mistakes, like Mike, said. So that's wisdom, learning from other people's mistakes or failures. And I feel like if obviously there's some maturity growing up, but if I didn't have not in a sense of mentors, but the friends, and just hearing their stories and kind of trying to take nuggets of wisdom out of them, probably the relationship with Becca wouldn't have gone as well as it did. But God's definitely given her a lot of patience with me. So it's needed with anyone that was going to be in a long-time relationship with me. It's patience, but
Well, I mean, I don't mean this as a dig. You were doubly set up for failure as an only child and being raised in a single-parent household, right? You didn't have a relationship to watch, to model off of, and you didn't have the natural growing up having to give and take with another person, both of which are very helpful things in going into a relationship. And so the fact that you guys have such a great relationship when you had multiple hurdles to overcome is really just a testament to both of you guys.
Yeah. Some unrealistic expectations that I wrote down. Mind reading. Is big,
thank goodness that's not.
Especially in the bedroom.
Oh.
You got to share what you like. If you like a certain spot tickled, you gotta let your partner know.
Out of my head.
Constant happiness. If you're a kind of person who doesn't like to be around sad people, I can raise my hand on that. I don't like sad movies. I don't like to be around sad people.
How did you get 79 episodes through it with us then?
Oh gosh, you guys are happy. You guys are happy sometimes.
Sometimes.
Good. You laugh.
Because I also like to joke when I'm sad. Why do you think I'm the funniest guy in the podcast?
No, that's Lou. Let's be honest.
Depends on the week.
Just believing that your relationship is going to be completely joyful and conflict free is insane.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the things will wear off, right? The sex will get normalized.
Your body will get old and decrepit.
The body will get old and decrepit. It's gonna happen. You're gonna have a conflict. You can't change that. Perfectionism, in yourself and in your partner, you're gonna make a mistake. There is nothing like a marriage to point out your flaws. That's just straight up.
That's a good point. That's so true.
Put that on a t-shirt.
It's just straight up. The one I always go back to is me and my wife. We went to a movie date, not for the first date, but we did go see a movie together. And my family, me and my family, we always used to throw popcorn at each other, and that was just like a cute thing that we always did. We had popcorn fights. And so I sit down. 30 minutes into the movie, and I start throwing popcorn at her, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing? People have to pick that up. There's somebody that comes and cleans. You're making more work for somebody." And I was like, "Oh, I'm the problem. I'm the issue. That's not good."
I was one of those people that had to pick up those popcorns.
I'm so sorry, Robert.
Well, actually, if we knew it was Rob, like, you may as well chuck the whole bucket.
That's why we do the AMC slide, just whoop, underneath the seats for the cleaning crew.
And this one's super toxic, and you have a problem with this, you need to go to therapy. Complete control. Even in both ways. I've only been around a handful of relationships that do this, where it's like dudes will get married just so that they can have a mom to take care of them. You know, like, that will cook and clean and do all that stuff. And if you want that in a relationship and your wife is okay with that, and that's something that you guys agreed with, more power to you. But if you go into a relationship just expecting her to do everything for you, or vice versa, it's not going to work. You have to have the communication. So.
Walu, so you don't like traditional gender roles?
No, that's not what I said. I said if they have that communication, and you had that talk, and you guys are okay with that, more power to you. I'm a little jealous, but whatever. Just a tad. I hope my wife doesn't listen. Never mind. I do hope she listens to it. But you need to have that conversation first.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that's if we're doing the rapid fire pitfall things, understanding that the difference between novelty and intimacy, and that both are good, but both have different lifespans. Like when you meet when you meet a romantic interest and it's fresh and things are going and there is just dopamine coursing through your blood and it's like your stomach is on fire and you're gonna explode from just the pressure of how awesome it is, you can't keep that forever. It doesn't work.
You also can't live off that. You can't eat off of that either.
No, intimacy.
No chasing the dragon.
It is not as bright of a burn, but it is far more intense, and it can keep you warm through the night. I like to use fire as an analogy for a lot of things. So here's one of them. Novelty is like kindling. It's like small sticks and hay and paper and pine needles, right? It burns hot. It burns fast. It's fun to look at, but it is over quick. And if you do not start putting bigger logs on the fire, you're going to be cold real fast, right? And so but at the same time, you don't want to overburden a relationship too quickly by getting too serious too fast and trying to manufacture that intimacy. You need to start with small, like, attraction and dopamine and like puppy love are all good things. They're built in for a reason, but then you need to start layering on some vulnerability and getting to know each other. Maybe, sacrificing a little bit and giving of yourself for the sake of the other person. And you start adding bigger and bigger logs to the fire. And eventually you'll end up with a bed of coals that can last you as long as you're putting wood on the fire. Right. But you can't burn hot enough and long enough to last and also be bright and brilliant and flashy forever. It has to burn out and become something different. And you have to be aware that it is impossible to maintain the highs of novelty forever, because novelty is in the name. It has to do with something being new, and it just won't be new forever.
All right. Any rapid fire things? Anything that you guys want to share? Something that's worked for you guys? Anything we haven't touched on?
If you're in a introvert extrovert relationship, don't be afraid to be like, hey, I just need some time to go decompress. Once a week. For me and my wife, we found like once a week, if I could just have a few hours at night just to kind of be alone, it's really good for my mental health. Which obviously your mental health does play a big factor into your relationship, so you make sure you're taking care of yourself too. But don't be afraid to have that conversation. And if you're an extrovert, and just realize that sometimes introverts just need a few hours to stare at the wall.
Very true.
And it's nothing against you.
No, yes, that's the important part is to say, hey, I need a little bit of introvert time. This does not mean I don't love you. This is not spending time with you. It just means I need to spend time on my own, right? And this isn't like, hey, I need some introvert time. I'm going to sneak off and hang out with the boys. It is genuine necessary time in solitude. And on the flip side, as someone who was the slightly more outgoing extrovert, if you are the introvert, and Rob, I gotta say, I have seen you do this in your marriage so much, and I appreciate the heck out of it. Be willing to put yourself out there and be more introverted on occasion for the sake of your more extroverted, for the sake of the more extroverted partner. That goes almost as far as, it's almost as necessary a component that you're getting your introvert time. Give the extrovert an extrovert experience. It's there's no one-to-one comparison, but it's as close as it gets.
Mm-hmm. Got anything else, Lou?
Okay, yeah, it's my turn. Very cool. All right, so I'll end it off. And we talked a lot about relationships, and if you were a single man or a single person listening to this, and we touched on this.
Comment down below and see if there's anyone else that you're interested in. Maybe we can play some matchmaker.
Oh my gosh, we got together listening to the top podcast. I would go to that wedding.
What are the statistics on the likelihood of that happening?
That'd be nuts.
The lottery or that?
That'd be so much fun. Yeah, so we touched on it a little bit. But being in a relationship or even being married is not going to fix your problems.
Mm-hmm.
It is not going to. I think our society has leaned really hard on sexuality as a whole, and I think sexuality is very important. But that is not just it. You are not based off of your sexuality. And I did also think that once I got married, once I had consistent sex, my problems would just melt away, and it didn't. I ended up getting more problems when I got married, and it should be like that. I am now taking care of somebody. My responsibilities. Problem is aggressive. I'm sorry, Christian. But my responsibilities.
It's also accurate though. Like, you're not saying that Christian is a problem, but Christian had problems too.
Yeah.
And they became your problems as well.
Yeah.
It is an objective fact that when you married, you immediately basically double your problem count.
Yeah, and
turn up the difficulty setting.
That's quick math right there. You can double check it, and it's always going to be right. Yep. You're taking care of something, and that's how I see it. I think if you're a single man. I personally, and I don't know how much more time we want to talk about this. I am not a big fan of online dating. I've seen it work for sure. I'm a big fan of really just putting yourself out there. Mike has been hosting these hangout spots, and I think it's a really good opportunity just to meet other people. Like, if you want to meet somebody, just put yourself out there. Go to these D&D groups. Go to these,
I met my
I
wife.
thought you were legitimately about to start pitching my small groups of socialites as a good place to meet women for a second.
I was leaning towards that. I'm not gonna say that because that's weird because I go there. But there are groups to hang out with. And my last thing, I'll end off with that, and you guys can take that the way you want to. But look at the other relationships in your life and see how they're doing, and see how you're treating other people. If all the relationships in your life are toxic and they're thin and there's no meat to them, then you have no room to be in a dating relationship. And that's, relationships are two-way street for sure. And so I'm not telling you to go back to your toxic parents or a toxic ex-girlfriend or a bad friend, but Robert always had really good friends that he put a lot of effort into. It wasn't that like Robert just like had a shallow relationships his whole life and then just stumbled upon a wife. He knew how to be friends first before he started dating. It was just he just needed to find the right girl, or the right girl needed to find him. To each his own. I don't know, but that's it. That's all I got.
And if
Sorry
you're-
to put you on blast, Robert.
And if you're a single guy, it's gonna sound harsh, but grow some balls and just go ask. I've been there. Just get it over with. Then you know that's the expectations. Then you know to expect if this relationship's gonna go anywhere romantic or if you can remain friends. Don't be a simp in the friend zone. Though I wouldn't know anything about that. Just a player.
They did call you the F boy at camp, so.
What? Hey, you can't. Well, they couldn't just say the fat boy. That's just rude.
That's wild. That was very witty.
Thank you. So hope you guys. I don't really know where to go from that, but I guess Lou, what do we talk about next week? You got the pick.
Yeah, I had it, and then I can't stop thinking about F boy being fat boy the whole time. Top 5 or top. We're doing top 3 now.
Yeah, so we're gonna change the 4-minute round a little bit. You guys will see next week.
Okay, top 3. I don't want to say things. I'm just gonna say things. Top 3 things that are objectively good, but you don't like them. So
Ooh,
books,
I like that.
So Mike's gonna have the
Movie.
Beatles on there.
I'm like
band,
now.
yep, all the things that you generally think, yep, I understand why people like these. I just can't stand them.
Tomatoes, man.
Tomatoes? You like pizza, right?
Tomato
I like
byproducts
tomato
are
sauce. I don't
different
like raw
than
tomatoes.
tomatoes,
They
yeah.
are not the same, man.
Don't raw dog a
I-
tomato.
I just got jumped.
It's not
Oh,
a tomato.
no.
We're not a pro tomato podcast. We won't stand for that
It's-
slander.
I just got straight up jumped.
Lou, are you a tomato fan? A raw tomato
I'm
fan?
I'm learning to be a tomato fan.
That's gonna be your strike 3.
Your boy Wiseman has gotten me hip to tomatoes.
All right. Well, let us know down below what you guys think are the pitfalls of a relationship. Any advice you could pass on, not only to the single guys, but as people in a relationship, you always need to be evaluating and learning and everything. As I think we've made it quite clear on this pod. But let us know. Let us know what your thoughts on this whole topic is. Man, I feel like Becca did it all last week, and I'm out of groove. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, comment, subscribe. Let us check out the red bubble down below. Join our Discord. We're gonna be doing a Minecraft server soon, and we've got the book club coming up. So a lot of stuff are happening. You can find it all on Discord. If you're watching on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, be sure to look down in the comments, leave a comment below there, because we've got some people, some toppers looking down and lurking and posting and all the other adverbs that go with that, or adjectives. I don't know. I'm not good at grammar. Other than that, I hope you guys had a great time, and I'll see you all next week. Peace.
Something we didn't really touch on, though. Sometimes when power isn't getting it done, just tweaking the angle is so much more important.
You know I'm a degenerate.